I moved in with my in-laws after my husband died. They turned my life into hell and even involved his ex. I escaped and won in court. 6 months ago, my life changed forever when my husband Billy, 35M, died in a car accident. We met in college. I, 34F, was an art major, and he was studying engineering. We were opposites in many ways, but we balanced each other out perfectly. Billy was always the planner, the one who kept us grounded, while I was more spontaneous and creative. We dated for 3 years before getting married, and 2 years later, we welcomed our daughter Angela, 4F, into the world. Billy and I had big dreams. We were saving up to buy our first house, planning to start our own business together, a combination of his technical skills and my artistic flair. We talked about having another child once we were more financially stable. But all those dreams came crashing down on that rainy Tuesday evening when a drunk driver ran a red light and hit Billy's car. The first few weeks after Billy's death were a blur. I was in shock, barely functioning. Angela, who was too young to fully understand what had happened, kept asking when Daddy was coming home. It broke my heart every time I had to explain that he wasn't. My parents, John, 55M, and Becca, 53F, came to stay with us for a while, helping with Angela and the funeral arrangements. As the fog of grief started to lift, reality set in. Billy and I had been renting a small apartment in the city, close to his job. With his income gone, I couldn't afford to keep it. I had been working part-time as a graphic designer from home while taking care of Angela, but it wasn't enough to cover our expenses. That's when Billy's parents, Melissa, 58F, and Bennett, 60M, offered to let Angela and me move in with them. At first, I was hesitant. Billy had always had a complicated relationship with his parents, especially his mother. Melissa was a perfectionist who had very specific ideas about how things should be done, and she often criticized Billy for not meeting her standards. But Bennett was more laid back, and he had always been kind to me. Plus, they lived in a big house in the suburbs with plenty of room for us. Given our financial situation and the fact that Angela adored her grandparents, I decided to accept their offer. The first month wasn't too bad. Melissa and Bennett were grieving too, and we all found comfort in being together. Angela seemed to be adjusting well, enjoying the big backyard and all the attention from her grandparents. I started looking for full-time work, knowing I needed to get back on my feet financially. But as time went on, things started to change. Melissa began to insert herself more and more into our daily lives. She had opinions on everything: how I should dress Angela, what she should eat, how I should discipline her. At first, I tried to be understanding. I knew she was hurting and probably trying to maintain a connection to Billy through Angela. But it quickly became overwhelming. I found a job as a marketing coordinator for a local company. It was a step down from my previous freelance work in terms of creativity, but it offered stability and benefits. The downside was the commute, an hour each way. I had to wake up at 5:30 a.m. every day to get myself ready, get Angela up and dressed, and drop her off at daycare before heading to work. In the evenings, I'd pick her up, make dinner, help her with her preschool activities, and put her to bed. By the time I had a moment to myself, I was exhausted. Melissa and Bennett, who were retired, started complaining that I wasn't spending enough time with Angela. They didn't seem to understand that I was doing my best to balance work and single parenthood. Melissa would make passive-aggressive comments about how when she was raising Billy and his brother Jack, she managed to do it all without complaining. The criticism extended to every aspect of my parenting. If I gave Angela store-bought snacks, Melissa would lecture me about the importance of homemade, organic food. If Angela threw a tantrum, Melissa would blame it on my permissive parenting style. Bennett usually stayed out of it, but he never contradicted Melissa either. Despite the tension at home, I was starting to feel like I was finding my footing again. 3 months after Billy's death, I decided to join a grief support group. That's where I met Alex, 34M. He had lost his wife to cancer a year earlier and had a son about Angela's age. We bonded over our shared experiences and started meeting for coffee after the support group sessions. When Melissa found out I was spending time with Alex, she hit the roof. She accused me of forgetting Billy, of being disrespectful to his memory. She said I was setting a bad example for Angela by moving on so quickly. I tried to explain that Alex was just a friend, someone who understood what I was going through, but Melissa wouldn't listen. The situation reached a breaking point last weekend. I had planned a trip to visit my parents, who live about 2 hours away. They hadn't seen Angela in a while, and I was looking forward to a break from Melissa's constant criticism. We had a lovely time. My mom made all of Angela's favorite foods, my dad took her fishing in the lake behind their house, and for the first time in months, I felt relaxed. But when we got back, Melissa was waiting, her face like thunder. She grilled Angela about what we had done, what she had eaten, who she had seen. Then she turned to me and said, I can't believe you're exposing Angela to your parents' bad influence. She always comes back sick and underfed from their house. I was stunned. Yes, Angela had caught a cold the last time we visited, but it was fall, and kids get sick all the time. As for being underfed, that was ridiculous. My mom, if anything, tends to overfeed Angela. Just last month, Angela's pediatrician had said she was growing perfectly and was at a healthy weight for her age. That was the last straw. I couldn't take it anymore. The constant criticism, the undermining of my parenting, the attempts to control every aspect of our lives, it was too much. Despite the guilt I felt about taking Angela away from her paternal grandparents, I knew I had to leave for both our sakes. I packed our bags that night and drove back to my parents' house. Now Melissa and Bennett are calling nonstop, leaving angry voicemails about how I'm an ungrateful daughter-in-law and a terrible mother. Bennett, who I thought might be more understanding, is backing Melissa up completely. I feel torn. On one hand, I know that Melissa and Bennett are grieving too, and they probably see Angela as their last connection to Billy. I worry about depriving Angela of a relationship with her grandparents. But on the other hand, I can't continue living under their constant scrutiny and criticism. It's affecting my mental health and, I fear, Angela's well-being too. Am I wrong for leaving? Should I have tried harder to make it work for Angela's sake? I'm lost and could use some outside perspective on this situation. Update 1: It's been 2 weeks since Angela and I left Melissa and Bennett's house, and to say it's been a roller coaster would be an understatement. First, I want to thank everyone for their supportive comments on my original post. Your words gave me the strength to stand my ground during this difficult time. After we left, I hoped that Melissa and Bennett would calm down and realize that their behavior had been inappropriate. Instead, they escalated things in a way I never expected. They started spreading rumors about me in our small town, where Billy and I had lived for the past 6 years. Melissa told everyone at their church that I was an unfit mother, claiming that I was dating multiple men and neglecting Angela. The rumors spread like wildfire. Billy and I had been well known in the community. He coached the local Little League team, and I volunteered at the Community Arts Center. Soon, I was getting calls and messages from people I thought were friends, asking if I was okay if the rumors were true. Some of Billy's old friends even reached out to check in after hearing these stories. It was humiliating and infuriating. I decided I needed to take action to protect myself and Angela. I reached out to my college friend, Melissa, 32F, who's now a lawyer. She advised me to document everything, every call, every message, every rumor I heard. She also suggested I gather evidence of my parenting and work ethic, just in case things escalated further. I started keeping a detailed log of all interactions with Melissa and Bennett. I gathered Angela's medical records, which showed she was healthy and well cared for. I got reports from her daycare about her behavior and development. I even asked my boss for a letter confirming my work hours and performance, to counter any claims that I was neglecting Angela for my job. But the most shocking development came when I discovered that Melissa and Bennett had been in contact with Billy's ex-girlfriend, Rachel, 33F. Billy dated Rachel for 2 years in college before we met. Their breakup had been messy. Rachel wanted to get married right after graduation, but Billy wasn't ready. Melissa had always liked Rachel and was disappointed when Billy and I got together instead. I found out about their contact with Rachel in the worst way possible. Angela's daycare called me in a panic one afternoon. Rachel had shown up, claiming she was there to pick up Angela on behalf of the grandparents. Thankfully, the daycare staff knew better and refused to let Angela go with her. They immediately called me, and I rushed over, my heart pounding. When I got there, Rachel was still in the parking lot. I confronted her, and she broke down crying. She admitted that Melissa had been feeding her information about me and Angela for weeks, painting me as an unfit mother and suggesting that Rachel could provide a more stable home for Angela. Melissa had convinced Rachel that she would be saving Angela by helping to get her away from me. I was horrified. The idea that Melissa would go so far as to involve Billy's ex in an attempt to take Angela away from me was beyond anything I had imagined. It made me realize that this situation was more serious than I had thought. After the incident at the daycare, I had a long talk with my parents about everything that had been happening. They were furious on my behalf and offered to help me find an apartment near them. I'm seriously considering taking them up on the offer and moving to their town permanently. It would mean changing jobs and schools for Angela, but it might be worth it for our peace of mind and safety. Alex has been incredibly understanding through all of this. He's offered emotional support but is keeping his distance to avoid adding fuel to Melissa and Bennett's fire. I appreciate his maturity in handling this difficult situation. He shared some of his own experiences dealing with his late wife's family and their grief, which has been helpful in giving me perspective. For now, Angela and I are safe at my parents' house. I'm looking into legal options to protect us from Melissa and Bennett's harassment. Melissa has advised me about the possibility of a cease and desist letter or even a restraining order if their behavior continues. Angela, thankfully, seems to be adjusting well to life at her grandparents' house. She misses her friends from daycare, but she's enjoying spending time with my parents. My dad has been taking her fishing almost every day, and my mom is teaching her to bake. It's heartwarming to see her laugh and play, seemingly unaware of the adult drama swirling around her. As for me, I'm taking things one day at a time. I'm still grieving Billy, and now I'm also grieving the loss of the relationship I thought I had with his parents. It breaks my heart that it's come to this, but I know I need to stay strong for Angela's sake. I'm determined to create a stable, loving environment for her, even if it means cutting ties with the people I once considered family. I'll update again when I have more news. For now, I'm focusing on Angela, looking for a new job in my parents' town, and trying to heal from all of this trauma. Thank you all again for your support, it means more than you know. Update 2. It's been a month since my last update, and a lot has happened. I've moved forward with my plan to relocate to my parents' town. After weeks of searching, I found a nice, affordable 2-bedroom apartment in a family-friendly neighborhood. It's nothing fancy, but it's clean, safe, and most importantly, ours. I also managed to secure a job at a local marketing firm. It's a bit of a step down from my previous position in terms of salary and responsibilities, but the shorter commute means I can spend more time with Angela. Plus, my new boss seems understanding of my situation as a single mom and has offered flexible hours when needed. Angela has started at her new preschool. The first few days were tough, she cried and clung to me at drop-off, which broke my heart. But her teachers have been wonderful, and within a week, she was excited to go to school. They say she's making friends and seems to be adjusting well. I've noticed she's been having fewer nightmares and tantrums since we moved. It makes me realize how much the tension at Melissa and Bennett's house was affecting her, even if she couldn't express it. Speaking of Melissa and Bennett, they've ramped up their efforts to undermine me. Last week, I received notice that they had filed for grandparents' rights, claiming that I was alienating them from Angela. I was shocked, but thankfully, Melissa had prepared me for this possibility. We responded with a strong case, including all the documentation I'd gathered about their behavior, the incident with Rachel at the daycare, and statements from Angela's doctors and teachers about her well-being. The judge saw through their tactics and denied their petition. He even issued a stern warning to them about harassment. This legal victory has given me some peace of mind, but I know the battle isn't over. Melissa and Bennett seem determined to be a part of Angela's life, regardless of my wishes or what's best for Angela. In a surprising twist, Rachel reached out to me directly. She asked to meet, and against my better judgment, I agreed. We met at a coffee shop in my new town, neutral ground for both of us. Rachel apologized for her involvement in Melissa and Bennett's schemes. She explained that they had manipulated her by playing on her lingering feelings for Billy and her own insecurities. Rachel admitted that she realized how wrong it was when she saw how scared Angela looked at the daycare that day. Rachel shared some insights into Melissa and Bennett's behavior that helped me understand them a bit better. Apparently, they had always been controlling parents, but it got worse after their older son, Jack, moved abroad. They saw it as a personal failure and doubled down on their expectations for Billy. Rachel said that her breakup with Billy was partly due to his struggle to stand up to his parents. It made me appreciate Billy even more, realizing how hard he must have worked to create boundaries with them. Rachel offered to make a statement about Melissa and Bennett's behavior if I ever need it. While I appreciated the gesture, I'm not sure I'm ready to trust her fully. But it was a weight off my shoulders to clear the air between us. On a personal note, Alex and I have decided to take a break. The stress of the situation was putting a strain on our budding relationship. We agreed that I need to focus on Angela and settling into our new life right now. He's been incredibly understanding, and we've left the door open for the future. Part of me is sad, but I know it's the right decision for now. I'm still processing all these changes, but for the first time in months, I feel like Angela and I can breathe. We're building a new life, free from constant criticism and manipulation. It's not easy, and I miss Billy every day, but I know he would want us to be happy and at peace. I'm taking it one day at a time, focusing on being the best mom I can be to Angela and healing from all we've been through. Update 3. 6 months have passed since my last update, and life has settled into a new normal for Angela and me. We're thriving in our new town. Angela loves her school and has made some close friends. She's particularly attached to a little girl named Zoe, and they have playdates almost every weekend. Seeing Angela giggle and play without a care in the world is the best thing I could have hoped for. I've been excelling at my new job. My boss recognized my hard work and promoted me to team leader last month. It's challenging, but I'm enjoying the opportunity to be creative again. The flexible hours have been a lifesaver, allowing me to be there for Angela's school events and doctor appointments without stress. Melissa and Bennett have finally backed off after the judge's warning. They send the occasional email asking about Angela, which I answer with brief, polite responses. I'm not ready to allow them back into our lives fully, but I'm considering supervised visits in the future if they continue to respect our boundaries. It's a delicate balance. I want Angela to have a relationship with her paternal grandparents, but I also need to protect her from their manipulative behavior. The most unexpected development came last month when Billy's older brother, Jack, 38M, reached out to me. He's been living in Australia for years and had no idea about everything that happened. Jack was horrified when I told him about his parents' behavior. He apologized profusely and offered his support. Jack's call led to a family secret being revealed. Apparently, Melissa and Bennett had driven Jack away years ago with their controlling behavior. They disapproved of his career choices and his decision to move abroad. Jack admitted that he distanced himself from the family to protect his own mental health. He shared stories about growing up with Melissa and Bennett that helped me understand their behavior better. It doesn't excuse what they did, but it shows a pattern that goes beyond just me. Jack has been incredibly supportive and has even flown in to visit Angela a few times. It's nice for her to have a connection to her dad's side of the family that isn't toxic. Angela adores her Uncle Jack and is fascinated by his stories about Australia. He's promised to take us both there for a visit when Angela is a bit older. As for my personal life, Alex and I have reconnected. We ran into each other at a local festival, and it felt like no time had passed. We're taking things very slowly, mindful of our children and our past experiences. We've had a few coffee dates and even a dinner out while my parents watched Angela and his son. It's nice to have someone to talk to who understands what I've been through. Angela likes him too, which is a big plus. She and Alex's son, Tyler, get along well when we all spend time together. I've also been focusing on my own healing. I joined a local art class, something I haven't done since college. It's been therapeutic to express myself through painting again. I'm even considering doing some freelance graphic design work on the side, to keep my skills sharp and maybe save up for a house down payment. Angela and I talk about Billy often. We look at photos, and I tell her stories about him. Sometimes she asks tough questions that break my heart, but I always try to answer honestly. We've started a tradition of releasing a balloon on his birthday and the anniversary of his death, with a message Angela dictates to me. It's a small way for her to feel connected to the father she barely remembers. Looking back on this journey, I'm proud of how far Angela and I have come. We've faced incredible loss and challenges, but we've emerged stronger. I've learned to stand up for myself and my daughter, to set boundaries, and to prioritize our well-being. There are still hard days, of course. Days when I miss Billy so much it hurts to breathe, or when I second-guess every parenting decision I make. But those days are becoming less frequent. I'm grateful for the support system we've built here, my parents, our new friends, Angela's teachers, and even Jack. It truly takes a village, and I'm lucky to have found ours. To anyone facing a similar situation, don't be afraid to make tough decisions to protect yourself and your children. It's not easy, but it's worth it. Trust your instincts, seek support when you need it, and remember that healing isn't linear. Some days will be harder than others, and that's okay. Angela and I are proof that there's light at the end of the tunnel. We're not just surviving, we're building a happy, healthy life together. And I know that wherever Billy is, he'd be proud of us both.